Shalom, shalom, everybody. Back with reading with SHILO. What's up with SHILO, man? We out here. I'm out here. We about to get started on, or back at it on chapter 11 of On the Real Side by Mr. Mel Watkins. A history of African American comedy from slavery to Chris Rock. Once again, some of these, majority of these books that I read, let's wait and read, baby, wait and read. But majority, if you new to the channel or to the page, channel, majority of the books that are being read, these are my first time reading these books. It's only a couple that I might have read once or twice, but only a couple. And those are more biblical ones, or like the Willie Lynch letters, something like that. But majority of all the other books that I get, I haven't read them. So when I come to words that I don't know, or words that I might stumble on or whatever, if I feel it's necessary, I'm gonna look it up. So, bear with me. It's all part of the learning process. It's all part of learning to read better, get better, growth, all that stuff. Good things that we need. So, but we're gonna get into chapter 11. There are 13 chapters in this book. We're almost done. We're on section 2 of chapter 11, which is I don't remember. Folklore and street humor. What's on the top? If you're grinning, you hit them. Folklore and street humor. Section 2 of chapter 11. Let's get it. Zora Neale Hurston's vivid documentation of the combative nature of much black verbal wordplay illuminates one of the central components of African American humor, signifying, ranking, or currently dissing. Intrinsically connected to that popular strain of humorous expressions is a maximum that simply warns, if you're grinning, you in them. Now, undoubtedly, some non-black researchers have occasionally wandered into a sepia joke joint. Sepia, what's a sepia? Already, we hitting some brick walls already. Sepia, S-E-P-I-A, a sepia juke joint or cabaret. Sepia, S-E-P-I-A. I think it means something, a sepia juke joint. Now, undoubtedly, some non-black researchers have occasionally wandered into a sepia juke joint or cabaret, a down-home black barbershop or country store, and found themselves in the midst of one of those verbal duels, a sepia. Let's see. Sepia, S-E-P-I-A. Sepia, S-E-P-I, sepia, a black inked secretion of cuttlefish. A dark brown pigment prepared from this. A rich dark brown colored, let's see. Wandered into a rich dark brown colored juke joint. Walked into a black inky secretion of cuttlefish juke joint. Now I think it's a rich dark brown color, but why would you choose that word? Sepia. Now, undoubtedly, some non-black researchers have occasionally wandered into a sepia juke joint or cabaret, a down-home black barbershop or country store, and found themselves in the midst of one of those verbal duels. If they were not greeted by the icy silence that often descended in such situations, they might have been exposed to some particularly cutting barb or insult, and cracked a smile, and perchance cracked a smile. Then, whether they knew it or not, they would likely have found themselves at least tangentially embroiled in a round of double-edged ranking in which the players used language that went underneath, betwixt, and all around the interlopers. The humor was there, sharp as a razor. It's just that for a long time, some white folks didn't know that they had been cut and nobody bothered to tell them. Fortunately, there were exceptions. Among them was the folklorist and anthrographer, and ethnographer. That's why because I'm saying it wrong. Ethnographer, folklorist, and ethnographer. The ethnographer, somebody that makes something like a topographer. Or ETHON. ETHNO, ethnographer, ethnographer, ETHNOGRPHER, ethnographer. Roger D. Abrahams, who in joking the training of the men of words and talking broad, writes that joking is one of the key behavioral manifestations among Black youth. Ethnographer. Man, hold up. What up, everybody? Welcome. Hey. Get your reading level up no matter what it is. Practice makes perfect. Ethnographer. It's not in this one. Ethnic. It's not in this one. Let's see the other one. Ethnographer. Yeah, that's the purpose. Everybody got, some people ashamed to read. They'll never read out loud. They read in silence. They can't even hear their mess ups. Nobody's speaking in social. Ethnocentric. Ethnography. There we go. Ethnography. The study and systematic recording of human cultures. Ethnographer. The study and systematic recording of human cultures. A descriptive work produced for such research. Ethnographer. I wonder what you got to go to school for that. The ethnographer. Among them was the folklorist and ethnographer, Roger D. Abrahams, who in joking, the training of the man of words and talking broad, writes that joking is one of the key behavioral manifestations among Black youth. He classifies that African and African American oral tradition in two specific categories: broad talk, which emphasizes joking and license, includes signifying and mother rhyming, the dozens, and brings the vernacular into stylized use in the form of wit, repertoire, and direct slander, and formal or sweet talk, which focuses on eloquence and manners through the use of formal standard English. I think that's what I'm trying to do with this read. Use the use of formal standard English. Oh man. Shit. Abraham's essay, outlines the ritualized indoctrinations of the Black youth in the use of the vernacular and suggests the extent of its widespread acceptance as a traditional source of expression. The broad talker is licensed to play the fool or clown, and in that capacity, he may portray the high as low and reveal the virtuous as lecherous and dishonest charlatans. By the 1980s and 1990s, this oral tradition regularly surfaced in somewhat sanitized versions on such television programs as the Arsenio Hall Show, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and even the curiously cross-cultural cartoon series The Simpsons, and was seen in its natural state in almost any Black schoolyard, pool hall, cabaret, or bar. It has been an essential part of African American culture since the outset, when Europeans observed and became confounded by their slaves' seemingly jovial temperaments and unrestrained laughter. And from the beginning, one of its most prominent features has been an irreverent tone aimed at the high and mighty in order to pillory such pretentiousness as vanity and arrogance both in whites and uppity or sedity blacks. Pillory. What is pillory? Pillory. P-I-L-L-O-R-Y. Pillory. P-I-L-L-O-R-Y. Pillory. And might in order to pillory such pretentiousness. To pillory. When they got something to do to kill, to knock down. Pillory. Or maybe hold up like a pillar. P-I-L-L. Pillory. A wooden framework with 3 holes into which the head and the hands are. Oh, it's that thing like in the old times, man, like the before you, like the stocks. When you put you in the stocks. A wooden framework with 3 holes into which the head and hands of the offender were locked, exposing him to public abuse and ridicule. Pillared, to set in a pillar, to expose to public scorn. Pillory. That sounds better too. Pillaring. To set in a to expose to public scorn. One of its most prominent features has been an irreverent tone aimed at the high and mighty in order to expose by public scorn such pretentiousness as vanity or an arrogance both in whites and uppity or sedity blacks, or pillory. It's a good word, I guess. I think it's better than that sepia they used in the other one. Shucking and jiving, talking and testifying, dipping and gripping, slapping and capping, or simply dissing are all vernacular descriptions for African American inter-community verbal play. Although each term has a slightly different meaning depending upon who uses it and where, a derivative of the culture's elastic nature, Although each term has a slightly different meaning depending upon who uses it and where. A derivative of the culture's elastic nature. Okay, I see that. They all refer generally to verbal exchanges corresponding to Abraham's broad talk. They describe the core verbal interaction that defines one of the fundamental attributes of African American youth. As the Hurston's collection and its line contest reveal, the play is most often couched as a challenge, an invitation to spar and compete. In Die Nigga Die, H. Rap Brown wrote, they'd be sometimes 40 or 50 dudes standing around, and the winner was determined by the way they responded to what you said. If they fell all over each other laughing, then they knew you scored. It was a bad scene for the dude that was getting humiliated. Brown was writing about the most intensely charged verbal confrontations, the dozens. The situation, however, was not markedly altered if the repertoire was confined to signifying or just telling a story, testifying. When I was a teenager in Ohio, for instance, getting to high school required a mile walk with other students that inevitably involved the continuous round of signifying. Although from one's physical features, our clothes, anything from one's physical features or clothes to his personal habits or intellect would be unmercifully ridiculed, and depending on who was most aggressive, at any given time, nearly everyone had his turn in the barrel. If you were unfortunate enough to have become the victim, you might arrive at school reduced to tears. But usually, there were tears of laughter, since the entire interchange transpired within the context of a group of relatively close friends. It was a daily ritual, which was usually confined to putting down or ranking a specific person in the group. But if someone's derisive acuity reached a more cutting level, it could easily slip into the dozens and offer thematic progressions like the following. Jim, you so ugly you got to sneak up on the dog. Yeah, well man, you so dark, you ain't seen daylight in 10 years. Don't say nothing about darkness now, because you the only dude I know can cast a shadow on cold. Whereupon, Jim might shift and respond. Yeah, well, you better ask your mama about that. She sure loved my nightstick. That in turn might start a round of sexually explicit patterned mother rhyming. Fucked your mama on the refrigerator. Cop some ice. Said see you later. Seeing your sister at the movie show, she sure ain't smart, but she sure can blow. Hostile overtones aside, among friends, this kind of repertoire, I think I'm pronouncing that wrong. Repartee. Let's see. That should be REPART. Just sound like I'm pronouncing it wrong. REPAR. Repartee. Repartee. You repartee. Repartee. A quick, witty exchange between two or more persons. A repartee. It just don't sound right. Repartee. Reparted. A reparted. That shit don't sound right either. A reparted. A repartee. I know I'm gonna read it again. I've seen it a couple of times. Repertoire. No, it's not repertoire. Repertoire. I need repertoire. Man, damn. Wish I. Damn, I need the Terminator right now. Just Terminator, pronounce this word. Repartee. Hostile overtones aside, among friends, this kind of repartee was usually carried out in the spirit of good-natured teasing. It was ritualized play. When confined to friends in familiar circumstances, it was viewed much like a basketball or baseball game as competitive sport. In fact, just as in professional sports today, talking trash is a regular part of nearly every football or basketball game. If, however, one of the limitations were ignored, say someone appeared with his girlfriend and his manhood was questioned, the game could escalate into hostility and violence. That's for sure. Oh yeah, buddy, that's for sure. Oh, you brought your old lady? What are those? Yeah, they're gonna get on with you. Oh man. Oh man, you brought your old lady, huh? Yeah, they're gonna get on you. You better know how to get back. You better know how to joke. You better know how to joke back. Say something. Something. At least something. One thing. Two things. Something. Shit. Say something. Say something. Say something. The dozens. We never called it that. I think they call it Jolson. We used to call it just joking, clowning. The repartee. Yeah, I didn't know that's what that was called. Shit. Oh man. When confined to friends in familiar circumstances, it was viewed much like a basketball or baseball game, a competitive sport. Shit. Hooey. In fact, just as in professional sports today, talking trash was a regular part of nearly every football and basketball game. If, however, one of the limitations were ignored, say, someone appeared with his girlfriend and his manhood was questioned, the game could escalate into hostility and violence. As H. Rap Brown noted, this daily routine also complemented the formal education received in class. We exercised our mind by playing the dozens. We learned what white folks called verbal skills. Verbal skills. I might have to look and see if there's a verbal skills book that does this. Verbal skills. Verbal skills. I need to write that shit down. Verbal skills. What is the verbal skills book? Look up verbal skills. A book on verbal skills. You see, we learned verbal skills. Look up a book on verbal skills. All right. Verbal skill. Oh man, that shit fun. Thinking back on some of the clowning, that shit fun. Beyond establishing a framework for jokes, this combative verbal play repeatedly utilized linguistic devices that in themselves help to shape private black humor. Geneva Smitherman is among the folklorists and linguists who have categorized the most prominent of these devices. A large part of her book, Talking and Testifying, look that up too. Talking and Testifying. By Geneva Smitherman. Talking and Testifying by Geneva Smitherman is devoted to the classification of African American modes of discourse. Among them are call and response, signification, and narrative sequencing. She also lists specific qualities or rhetorical devices, including exaggerated language, mimicry, proverbial statements, punning, image making, braggadocio, and indirection. I might have to look this up. I think I might have to read that book. The approaches and specific devices enumerated by Smitherman, although they are neither exclusive to blacks nor exhaustive of linguistic techniques used by blacks, provide a basic inventory of the structures that largely define private African American healing. In fact, since they were easily perceived derivations. In fact, since there were easily perceived derivations of popular rhetorical, derivations of popular rhetorical devices frequently appeared in early Negro stage humor. A study of the adaptation of call and response, the spontaneous interaction of speaker and audience, perhaps most familiar in the interaction between minister and congregation in black churches, for example, was widely used in minstrelsy when the inmen's carping asides provided counterpart to the interlocutors, pompous speeches, the interlocutors, oh shit, interlocutors. For example, was widely, they talking about the giving, the back and forth in the talk. What is it called again? Call and response is what it's called. The call and response. The spontaneous interaction of speaker and audience, perhaps most familiar in the interaction between minister and congregation in black churches. For example, was widely used in minstrelsy when the inmen's carping asides provided counterpoint to the interlocutors' pompous speeches. It also appeared in the continuous banter between Tambo and Bones. The humorous interplay with which string beans, butter beans, and Fats Waller punctuated the lyrics of blues tunes sung by female vocalists provided some of the funniest and most imitated instances of its use. I got the blues. A vocalist might wail, and a band member would shoot back. That ain't the worst you gonna get, baby. I got the blues, and that ain't the worst you gonna get, baby. The most recognizable and perhaps most creative use in the practice routine, however, was in Miller and Lyle's indefinite talk bit, in which the call and response device carried to its comical extreme became both the form and content of the comedy. Here the humor derives totally from exaggeration of the rhetorical ploy, as the two comedians anticipate one another's thoughts and jive their way through a series of nonsensical, rapid-fire retorts. Yeah, I bet on that horse, and that rascal didn't come in until, was he that far behind? Yeah. Who Who was the jockey riding him? A jockey by the name of, oh, he can't ride. Signifying a verbal insult. In my mind, I hear somebody saying, oh, he can't ride. Whatever your nigga name is, he can't ride. Signifying a verbal insult in one form or another has appeared in stage humor since minstrelsy and can be traced through vaudeville to the present. From W.C. Fields or Butterbeans and Susie to Don Rickles or to the Red Fox. I think Corey Holcomb does a good job of the signifying to thee. At least that's what he talks about all the time. It was just, I wonder is the back and forth, like what was the back and forth between Martin and Pam? You know, would that be considered signifying? Like the back and forth between Martin and Pam. It talks about the late Red Fox. So, because I think the back and forth between Martin and Pam is the same as the back and forth between on Sanford and Son with Sanford and I can't think of that lady name, man. The dark skinned lady. Oh, the dark skinned lady. Not Ethel. And I can't think of her name. But anyway, I wonder if it's the same. I wonder if that's the same concept. You know what's that? There we go. What is usually missed on stage, however, is the indirection it often assumes in private humorous wordplay among blacks. A bit of that nuance is apparent in a remark that a customer in a predominantly black bar made to an uppity employee. Man, why don't you put that broom down? You know you don't know nothing about no machinery. Man, why don't you put that broom down? You know you don't know nothing about no machinery. Narrative sequencing, a storytelling technique involving spontaneous diversion and nearly stream of consciousness meandering, is also a widely used stage device. Monologuers such as Will Rogers or Moms Mabley, who spoke directly to audiences, used it frequently, but it was also an essential component in the acts of many comic teams who were ostensibly speaking to each other. The Tim Moore and Andrew Tribal routine described earlier, for instance, exploits the technique to the fullest as Moore rambles through a dialogue that begins with some perceptions about the value of work, wanders into a fantasy about ghosts and haunts who inexplicably changes shape, then ends with some pragmatic observation about time, carpentry, and the nature of fear. In fact, that routine is also a model of the other modes of African American discourse mentioned by Smitherman and of nearly all the expressive devices common to Black grassroots verbal expression and humor. Call and response occurs throughout the tribal interjections, both exhort and amplify Moore's commentary. Both comedians, use mild insults to make their points, as when Tribal says, "Boy, I don't blame that cat for laughing, because the first time I seen you, I like to laugh myself to death." Or when Moore says, "You showing your ignorance now." Exaggerated language occurs with Moore's coining of the words widowery and dowry. Windery. The words windery and dowry. Braggadocio in his suggestion that if not for the window, he would have exited through the wall. Remember, if not for the window, he would have exited through the wall. Now, mimicry in his imitation of the cat, indirection in the circuitous course through schooling, carpentry, and the advantage of punctuality that he takes to explain his quick departure, and, of course, punning in the polecat reference and the concluding joke. My time there was up. I ain't then the window gone well. And right then the window got well. My time there was up. And right then the window got well. What you mean the window got well? It got rid of its pain. Overall, the more tribal bit is a rich example of the comic use to which verbal attributes common to private discourse among blacks may be put. It demonstrates how those attributes, when creatively combined, can produce humorous scenarios that are observably black oriented. As detractors of this type of inbred ethnic humor would quickly point out, however, while the structural apparatus and cleverness of the black verbal play are abundantly represented, the thematic focus on the routine remains mired in stereotypes that not only avoid challenging, but also affirm negative mainstream perceptions of African Americans. In this instance, craveness and abhorrence of work and superstitious belief in ghosts. Now, unfortunately, most stage and public performances mirrored a similarly one-dimensional projection of black humor, even when they exploited genuine techniques of inter-community discourse and comedy. The stage acts of comics, such as Moore, Butterbeans, and Susie, Miller, and Lyles, Dusty Fletcher, Mom's Mabley, Pig Meat Markham, brought surface elements of private black humor into the theater, and in many instances, a sense of the wily perception and ironic wit that informed the folk ways of its creators. But they rarely ventured into the depiction of the African American's most outrageous folklore type, the legendary bad nigga, even though the type frequently appeared in aggressive, off-stage jokes and was, along with the wily Brer Rabbit and the Slave John, a preeminent folk hero. The bad nigga. It made me think about when I was watching that Transformers 1 and Bumblebee was like, badass Tron. You call me badass Tron. Oh man. Mainstream portrayals of humorous Negroes, of course, also avoided the type. After all, the aggressive black man who refused to bow and back down from confrontations with whites had been seen as mainstream society's worst nightmare since slavery, and by the early 20th century, that image had been indelibly etched in the public mind by Thomas Dixon, D.W. Griffith, and others. In mainstream culture, uppity blacks were villains, a threat to the status quo. They were seldom treated humorously. When they were, and the contradictory inner logic of the humor immediately revealed the effect of the charade. How I say of the charity. Now, white minstrels, for example, regularly pilloried. Go back to that word, pillory. Pilloried. Regularly pilloried the Negro city slicker and or dandy through their deception of Zip Coon and Jim Dandy, an extravagant, motley dressed pretender to urban worldliness. But the very process of burlesquing this urban hustler entailed portraying him as an imposter. I'm about to read that again. White minstrels, for example, regularly pilloried the Negro city slicker or dandy through their deception of Zip Coon or Jim Dandy, an extravagant, motley dressed pretender to urban worldliness. But the very process of burlesquing this urban hustler entailed portraying him as the imposter. Humor was derived from casting him as the stereotypical loud, venal, depraved, and ultimately simple-minded Negro. Way down there. Oh, way down there. But the very process of burlesquing this urban hustler entailed portraying him as an imposter. Humor was derived from casting him as the stereotypically loud, venal, depraved, and ultimately simple-minded Negro who futilely aspired to an independence reserved for whites. He was finally only Sambo in the 19th century version of the Zoot Suit. Although before the 60s, these characters rarely reached the stage. Muted, less aggressive versions of this urban type were found in black stage comedy sketches that typically featured a city slicker preying on a rural underdog. Such teams as Miller and Lyles modified the standard minstrel portrayal, eliminating much of the foolish affection and comic pretentiousness. Oh man, I feel like I'm reading terrible right now. Started off good here. But we almost there. We got 2 pages left. 2 pages left. Push through. Let's push through. Let's push through. Such teams as Miller and Lyles modified the standard minstrel portrayal, eliminating much of the foolish affection and comic pretentiousness, but still undercut the strength of the character by having the underdog outwit his typically more physically opposing and sophisticated urban adversary. Brer Rabbit, in other words, consistently emerged victorious. Other comedians, while portraying a closer likeness of the type that earlier minstrels, wrung laughter from their ability to deflect hostilities from themselves and maintain their tough, haughty postures as someone else suffered the consequences of their actions. Now Drake and Moray's Go Ahead and Sing bit in which one comic goads his partners into defying a policeman, was an example. Some even reverted to portrayals of approximating some. Man, that sleep monster just jumped on my back, and man, it's like he rubbing on my shoulders. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Get off the bitch. I'm trying to read and give the people what they need. And give myself what I need. Shit. I hate what I have. Trying to read and trying to put me to sleep now. All right. Here we go. Drake and Murray's Go Ahead and Sing bit, in which one comic goads his partner into defying a policeman, was an example. Some even reverted to portrayals approximating the minstrel stereotype, revealing the bad nigga as Craven, and despite his vociferousness, vociferousness. I thought at first it had something to do with vocab. Vociferousness. VOCI. VOCI. FEROUS. Vociferousness. Vociferousness. Let's see what that thing means, man. Everybody can see it. Oh, excuse me. Push through, SHILO. Push through. Man, you trying to knock me out, man. I'm telling you. I think something don't want me to read. That's what I feel like right now, man. Something don't want me to read. Vociferous is in here. About. Noisily clamorous. Despite his noisy clamorousness or vociferousness, excuse me, man. Ooh, I don't know what happened. It's on me. Get off me. Sleep monster on me. Only 2 pages left. 2 pages left. Get off me, monster. Return from whence thou came. Sleepiness. Return. Ooh, so my eyes can go back over. One of Stumpin' Stumpy's popular Apollo Theater skits offered an example. The sketch opened with them laughing and rollicking in the northern nightclub. Soon, Stimpy spies a menacing, light-skinned waiter or bouncer standing behind them. Stump notices his friend's distress and says, "What's wrong, man? You You up? You up north now? Let's have a ball. He continues his loud, aggressive behavior as Stumpy cowers in his seat. Now, finally, Stump looks around and that fool and sees the bouncer puffing himself. Man, hold up, man, I'm tripping. Get it together. Get it together. Get it together. Oh, no, get it together. Let's get it together. Oh, why not? Telescope. Let's get it together, man. Wake up. Oh, Shalom. Shalom. How you doing today? How you doing, my son? Shalom. All praises to the Most High. He woke you up. How you feeling? Feeling good, man? Just brush your teeth good. Let me see. Let me look at you. Can you hear? Can you see? I know you can think. Can you feel? I know you walked all the way back here. So you have everything that you need for today. You just have to use it and make it happen. Love you, son. What you about to do? What you about to do? What you about to do? I'm almost done reading. I'll be there in a minute. Give me like, man, not a minute, but some minute. All right, maybe that's what I need. There you go. Get gone. One of Stump and Stumpy's popular Apollo Theater skits offered an example. The sketch opened with them laughing and rollicking in a northern nightclub. Soon, Stumpy spies a menacing, light-skinned waiter or bouncer standing behind them. Stumpy notices his friend's distress and says, "What's wrong, man? You up north now? Let's have a ball." He continues his loud, aggressive behavior as Stumpy cowers in his seat. Now, finally, Stumpy looks around and sees the bouncer puffing himself up. He shouts to Stumpy, "Straighten that fool out. Straighten that fool out, man. Straighten that fool out." He is hardly finished when the bouncer pounces on him and beats him to the floor. As Roger D. Abrahams observes, when the tables are turned on the trickster or bad nigga, when he himself is duped or defeated, his exploits are nothing less than clownish, and his mask is that of the noodle, the simpleton. Most often, however, stage facsimiles, there we go, that sounds better. Stage facsimiles of the bad nigga were confined to all black settings, and mythical opponents or depicted a character who turned his anger against himself and other blacks, reflecting Abraham's portrait of the hard hero who, frustrated in his attempts to strike back at white society, turns his anger inward. This surfacing of black aggressiveness in comedy skits occurred frequently in the acts of the male-female comedy team who worked the Toba. In his act with Susie, for instance, Butterbeans often saturnized the black nigger's aggressiveness. And one skit he claimed, "I'd fight all the animals in the jungle or even in the zoo. I'd grab a lion and smack his face and tear the tiger in two. If that ain't love, it'll have to do." But the belligerence was exposed as a sham when Susie asked, "Till when? Till when?" And Butterbeans replied, until another fool come along. On other occasions, his hostility was turned towards Susan. I'll whip your head every time you breathe. Rough treatment is exactly what you need. But Butterbean's comic assertiveness was always mediated by the couple's affection for one another. All Susie needed to do was smile, and his hostility vanished. This was not necessarily the case with dancer comedian Two-Story Tom, who built his act around lampooning. The bad niggas' treatment of women. In one of his typical theatrical, typical threatening forays get off me, go where you gotta go. My bad, I lost my place. Typical. All right, like it. There we go. This was not necessarily the case with dancer comedian Two-Story Tom, who built his act around lampooning the bad niggas' treatment of women. In one of his typically threatening forays, he proclaimed, when I start after you, you'll run so fast you'll cut out New Street. Despite the avoidance, distortion, and restriction of targets that characterized portrayals of the bad nigga on stage, the type represented a source of pride for most blacks. In a serious vein, many stories circulated about slaves and freedmen who put their lives on the line rather than capitulate to societal emasculation. As a child, I heard my grandmother tell numerous tales about fiercely determined black men and women who directly resisted white oppression during slavery and short afterwards. Most, as the quickly admitted, as she quickly admitted, had paid with their lives, but there were also dozens of tales about those who defiantly resisted and either escaped to the north or, by sheer tenacity, the refusal to submit, won the respect of whites and carved out a stable life. The latter, of course, were rare, and their ability to survive often depended on some connection with a powerful white family, based either on clandestine lineage or through ability to curry favor in those quarters by affecting a more docile or dependent presence. Almost there. We got one more page. Got one more page. One more page, and this time we get up and go work out and get this sleep off. Push-ups. Jumping jacks or something. Man, almost done though. Almost done. For example of these stories also appear frequently in the slave narratives. In Lay My Burdens Down, A folk history of slavery, for example. B.A. Botkin relates a tale about one Leonard Allen and another slave and describes them. Botkin's informant said, if the devil himself had come and shook a stick at them, they'd hit him back. As the story goes, on the day that plantation master returned from the Civil War, he heard Allen's sarcastic remark, look at that goddamn soldier. He's fighting to keep us niggas from being free. When he was ordered to approach his master, who had picked up a gun, Leonard opened his shirt and stood there like a big black giant, sneering at old Marcy. The informant fled, but emphatically recalled how he later saw the ex-slave laying on the ground with a bloody hole in his chest and that sneer on his black mouth. Man, look at that there. Master fighting to keep us niggas from going free. Oh man. William H. Wiggins, with comments on Leonard Allen, on the Leonard Allen tale in the article Jack Johnson as Bad Nigga, the folklore of his life, recalls that his father had related stories about similar intransigent or bellicose blacks. Bellicose. I never heard of that one either. Bellicose blacks. Bellicose. In the early 1900s. He's trying to get me, man. He's trying to get me. My eyes blurring. It's trying to get me. It's trying to get me. Get off me, bitch. That's how. One involved a black carpenter in Georgia who, while working on another job, finally told an insistent and surely white man that if he couldn't wait for some work to be done, he could take his business elsewhere. The prospective customer, infuriated at being dismissed by a Negro, kicked the carpenter in the seat of his pants. Ooh-wee. Hit that boy in the nuts. In his giblets. The carpenter gathered his tools and left without saying a word. Shortly afterward, he returned, pulled out a gun, and killed the white man. Now, after hiding out until nightfall, the carpenter and his family escaped to Chicago. These tales of ordinary black folks most often recounted in the hushed voices, far from earshot of non-black listeners, no doubt contributed to the bad nigga legend. Now, other defiant blacks, including slave insurrectionists Nat Turner and Gabriel Prosser, man, sports hero Jack Johnson, and such notorious figures as Morris Slatter, who, after killing a white policeman and escaping in a railroad car, was mythologized, there we go, was mythologized as Railroad Bill, were probably the source of mythical superhuman, bad nigga figures such as Stackley or Staggerly, Shine, and to a lesser extent, John Henry. Who knows John Henry? I thank God for putting me on to this book too, man. But it's that damn sleep monster trying to put me out on the last page. I'm almost done, man. Shit, I'm trying to hold it together. I'm trying to hold it together for the last page of the book, page of this section I'm gonna read today. Shit, we almost there. I'm almost there. We'll push through. Let me find where I was. Shit. Okay, here we go. As Zora Neale Hurston has pointed out, John Henry occupies the same place in Negro folklore that Casey Jones does in white lore. Equally bold individuals were the basis for the raft of lesser-known stories involving African American aggressiveness or defiance that circulated almost exclusively within black circles. One tale involves a black man who faces a white judge in court after having kicked a white man's behind. Judge: John, what is this about you kicking someone? Well, Captain, what would you do if someone called you a black son of a bitch? Well, John, nobody will ever call me that. Well, Captain, suppose they call you that kind of son of a bitch you is. Give him 30 days. In some versions, the last line is omitted, contrary to popular thought. Race conscious jokes such as these, many of which openly express resistance to segregation, along with rich body of humor that assertively express pride in black lifestyles without reference to whites, or pridefully exalted the achievements and triumphs of black folks, were a significant part of inter-community African American humor long before Dick Gregory and others brought them to mainstream audiences. Now, in fact, as we shall see, many of the jokes told by such 60s stand-up comedians as Gregory, Red Fox, Richard Pryor, and others came directly from the streets. The explosion of assertive black satire unleashed in America's popular culture during the 60s did not represent the sudden emergence of a new militant perception or recently acquired recently acquired penchant. I don't know what that is. Penchant. We almost done. I got like 3 sentences. Penchant. P-E-N-C-A-A-N-T. A penchant. 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 P-E-N-C-H-A-N-T. A penchant. Because I don't even know if it's going to sound right. Penchant. 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 A penchant. A penchant. Okay, I'm saying it right. A penchant. An inclination towards, a liking for, a recently acquired liking for, a recently acquired inclination towards, a recently acquired penchant for ethnic chauvinism. Instead, it was more a public unveiling of a covert or privately held sardonic view of America that many common black folks had held for decades. Initially, the newly public humor barely scraped the surface of the unflinchingly graphic urban ballads, toasts, and street humor that folklorist Darrell Cumber Dance has described as blatantly hostile, sadistic, and obscene. Boom. Well, that was the end of section 2. That was the end of section 2 of chapter 11, Folklore and Street Humor of On the Real Side by Mel Watkins, a history of African American comedy from slavery to Chris Rock. It definitely made me look up some other books. Definitely has made me look up some other books. I do notice that, you know, for me, when I don't read, or when I haven't been reading for a while, it's easier for that damn slave monster to, or not slave monster, that sleep monster, to jump on my back and try to get me out of there, man. And it be having me in a chokehold sometimes. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Man. But hey man, I appreciate everybody who, you know, stopped by, listened in. On the real side. We're gonna keep pushing, man, one book at a time, one chapter at a time, one section at a time. Hey, line upon line. Until we finish the book. Until we finish the book, and then we on to the next. On to the next. Hopefully, you know, it's something that can be taken from whatever is read. Hopefully. Maybe it's something you ain't know. Maybe it's something you needed to know. Maybe it's something you've been thinking about. Who knows? We'll come back next time. Next time on Reading with SHILO. We're gonna hit up section 3. Shit, man. I have not been consistent, that's for sure. So man, I'm trying to be consistent. I'm trying to, like in the mornings, man, I'm gonna try to start shooting for the mornings. I really want to do 2 a days if I can get it in between my carving. So I just be going live because I don't really be feeling like it'd be a hassle sometime to go live. At least for me. I gotta make myself go live. But you know, hey. Yeah, man. Shit, I gotta homeschool my boys. Shit. Other shit. Rather be trying to carve too. Still trying to teach myself to carve and do that. I mean, I ain't tripping, but I just need to stop bullshitting. I think the morning time is the best time for me, but I just hate feeling. I be trying to find a time where that sleep monster don't get on me. Hey, and a time where the internet be working good out in the country, and it's either early in the morning or, you know, later at night. But I think I'm gonna try to go ahead and get back early in the morning. You know, I don't know, you know what time it is now. I know it's morning, the sun out. But man. Yeah, I think I heard it from Godfrey as well. I don't think I seen what you were talking about with the T.K. Kirkland one, but yeah, you know, some of these books definitely get looked up. I think Godfrey also, I think he was the one also put me on to the Medical Apartheid, which I went and got. So I plan on reading that one too. I'm just not sure when. I think I was planning on trying to read it next. I'm gonna see, man. I'm gonna have to see. I gotta see how it goes. But whatever it is, you know, the objective is to be consistent, grow in reading skills, definitely grow in the vernacular and the words, the vocabulary. That's definitely why I try to write down and look up the words that I don't know and I feel like I'm saying wrong. We'll look it up, try to see if I get a better understanding so we can comprehend what's being wrote about or spoken of a little bit better, and see if there's anything that we can learn and grow from. Yeah, for sure. Keep eye out. Keep eye out. Um, keep eye out. Yeah, I don't want to keep. I don't want to keep lying, man. I've said I'll be back later, and I'll be lying. You know, and sometimes I'll be like, I'll be back later tonight, and I'll be on that thing. Let me see. Yeah, the book has 13 chapters. We're on chapter 11. We're almost finished with it. We're almost finished with it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Damn, I thought it was less pages than that. 7. All right, so the next section gonna be kind of long for me with knowing how I read. So it's gonna have to be, yeah, and I'm not gonna read this without y'all. See? I don't read. I mean, most of these books would be my first time reading. I mean, all these books. I got books. I'm gonna finish. My objective is to get through all the books that I have here, and I got some more on the wall over that side. Let me see what you say. Yeah, I think that was the part I read somewhere else. It was talking about putting your head in a barrel. That's where the phrase "barrel full of laughs" come from. Yeah, I got a couple of graphic novels here too. I haven't figured out how to read them on here yet. I haven't gotten to it. I got one called Oko. Oko, and then one that's more like a children's one, I think, called The Amulet for my children. Let me see. Let me grab it right quick. Okay, we got Oko. It has a couple of them. The cycle. This is a cycle of water. I got 2. I have some more on the way right now, so I can complete the series at least. And The Amulet by Kazu Kibishi. Kazu Kibishi. And then the Oko is by written and illustrated by Hub, whoever Hub is. Yeah, it looks like it got some cool samurai stuff going on in here. So I was kind of figuring it's like a Ninja Scrolls maybe. So this one I gotta read through, before I can't let my children look through this one. I keep these alive. Yeah, it looks like it has some type of a tinge of Japanese to it. There's a couple of books. I only have book 1 and book 2, but book 3 and book 4 should be here any day now. Book 3 and book 4, and then the Amulet. The Amulet has, I have 6, the first 6 of this edition, and I think there's this one's more of like a children's one. it kind of, it's like a Stranger Things, maybe, you know, from the looks of just like glancing through it. I started reading book one, but I never kept going. I don't know why. But I have the other ones. But I plan on doing doing a reading with SHILO, graphic novel edition, maybe and a children's books edition as well. Which I'll probably get some children's books in before I read the other one, before I read the medical apartheid. But we'll see. But the objective, once again, is to keep reading, read, get better, read better, learn, grow. What can we learn and grow from in the things that we read? Make sure that there's nothing hidden in a book, because that's where they put the stuff they want to hide, in the books. So let's see what they're trying to hide. That's what I'm trying to look, see what they're trying to hide. Yeah. But man, till next time, let me see. Medical apartheid. This is the one I have, the medical apartheid by Harriet A. Washington. The Medical Apartheid by Harriet A. Washington. It just be the small words, man. The small words be killing me. And right now, the way my eyes looking right now, shit. Like the way I can, oh man, it's blurry, vision blurry right now. Yeah, medical apartheid. The dark history of medical experimentation on Black Americans from colonial times to the present. I'm pretty sure it's going to be yeah, man, shit. I got my children like some square magnifying glasses. I might have to pull that thing out and hold it hold that thing out like an old man. Shit. But yeah, it's small. The letters are so small, man. Those are the things that used to deter me from reading certain books. And you know, I'm already knowing now that being that this is I'm thinking that being that this is a medical book, or it's going to be discussing medical stuff, it's probably going to have a lot of medical terms in it. And knowing that these are going to be words that can be stumbled over, you know, sometimes discourages and can discourage people from even reading things like that. You know, man. But, you know, hey, push through. We have to push through, you know. Even if I jumble up a word or two, 400. So they got a couple of pictures. I didn't even know they had pictures in there. This marble colossus pays homage to James Marion Sims, MD, whose brilliant achievement carried the fame of American surgery throughout the entire world. It graces the eastern perimeter of New York Central Park, just across from the New York Academy of Medicine. I bet that's somebody who did all type of shit to niggas. In 1850, Howard biology professor Louis Agassiz, MD, commissioned Joseph T. Zeeley to produce One of them words. Here we go. A daguerreotype. 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 No, what is that? To produce daguerreotype images of 15 nude or semi-nude African Americans in Columbia, South Carolina. The scientific rationale for these detailed images of African Americans and their first generation offspring, which emphasize cynomatic features such as head shape, profile, and stance, was to provide graphic evidence that blacks constituted a different species from whites. The frontal image is of Rentry, a slave who was born in Congo. The profile image of Delia, Rentry's American-born daughter, emphasizes not only physical racial characteristics, but also uses the device of partial nudity, pulling her clothes below her waist to signal her lower social status and implied sexual ability. Man. So I guess that's Rentry from the Congo and his daughter. And the pulling down of the clothes is what they said was viewed as the lower status. And niggas want to sag their pants. Sound like they still showing the essence of lower status. The sagging of your pants signals your lower status and implied sexual ability. Man, let's see what this word is. Daguerreotype. Let's see if it's in here. D-A. I think that's G, man. D-A. D-A. D-A-Q. D-A-Q. D-A-G. Let's try that. It's not in this one. Let's try the big one. D-A. Let's try D-A-Q first. No, that's D-A-G. D-A-G. D-A-G-U-E. All right, it's in here. Let's see how they pronounce it. I'm still probably not gonna be able to pronounce it. Daguerreotype. 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 Sound like the ghetto type. Daguerreotype. 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 An early photograph produced on a silver or a silver-covered copper plate. Also, the process of producing such photographs. Daguerreotype. A daguerreotypist. Daguerreotype. Man. Yeah, a lot of things. Put in the books. Be right in front of our faces. I seen in a place they was throwing away all type of books. When I go, sometime I go to my local library. My local library gives away books. You know, they might be going through their stuff, and uh, man, there was one time they had at least 100 books, 100 books that they were giving away. Take what you want. And I sat there for a good little while and went through them books to see if any, things stuck out to me. And I got some one day, went back another day, and the number went down. But I went through that pile and took some more that time too. Uh, if I can find some good, decent books, something I think is viable for, or it might be a good read, something that might have some good information in it, man, I'll scoop it up. If I'm in a Goodwill or shit, if I can get across, to a garage sale. My bad, my shit acting up. If I can get around to a garage sale or something, and back in the day when I was younger, I mean, we used to get books at garage sales for like 10 cents, 10 cents a quarter, something like that. Uh, if I can find a good, garage sale, and maybe you might come across, I know I've come across books that may have been similar to these years before, but it never was on my mind to get them. Like, I never wanted to read any of that shit. I mean, it wasn't interesting to me at that time. Uh, but I've been reading a lot more, so it definitely falls in line with stuff that might be need to know shit. But once again, keep learning. Time to keep learning. Time to keep learning. Learn, push yourself. Uh, Even though I was starting to fall asleep, I had to push through it, push myself through it. Read, boy, read. Get that drill sergeant. Read, hurry up. Yeah. Yeah, they're getting rid of. I've seen school libraries are throwing away a lot of books and stuff. So yeah, get what you can, find what you can before they get to a point where they start burning books again. What you ran across uh what, a black man's guide to understand the black woman book? That's not one should be in a garage sale. But hey, if you did shit, it's still a good find. It don't matter. I mean, good books is still good finds. I wish, like, right now I'm kind of in my mind, I'm kind of into. I've been seeing a lot of maps. I've been wanting to look at old maps and stuff. I want to see what old maps. What, the Black Man's Guide to Understanding Black Women? I didn't know what book, or is that the name of the book? Uh, oh, the Black Klansman. My bad. Oh, okay, my bad. I thought you were saying the Black Man's Guide by. I mean, Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman by Miss Ali. Cheers. She has Miss Sherazad Ali, or Dr. Sherazad Ali. She has multiples. You got the Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. Uh, the Black Woman's Guide to Understanding the Black Man. Things Your Parents Should Have Told You. And Urban Survival for Years to Come. Dr. Sherazad Ali. or Shahrazad Ali. I think I might have another book of hers too. But yeah, it was a book I wrote down I wanted to read. It's a couple of books I looked up. It's some books that were in the on the real side book that I looked up. Like of Men and Mice by Zora Neale Hurston. No, Mules and Men and Mules, something like that. Um, and then this last one, a book on verbal skills. I want to see what if they have a book on verbal skills to see if um, signifying is in there. Hey, I'm almost like a librarian around here. All right. Yeah, we keep pushing. That's what it is. That's what it is. Yeah. Appreciate the back and forth, Dominique, man. Appreciate the back and forth. Yeah. I'm still learning how to do this shit. I've been putting videos out for a minute, but man, I just go live whenever. Sometime if I'm up 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll go live and read. If I'm up at 7 in the morning, I go live and read. It's whatever. But yeah, be on the lookout. I'll try to figure out how to start. What's your schedule shit? How to start scheduling shit so I can and sticking to the schedule. I gotta be better than that. I have to do better on that. They say with this YouTube shit that consistency is the key. With anything, consistency is the key. Discipline, consistency. But yeah, till next time. Shalom, everybody, man. This is reading the SHILO out. SHILO out, man. Catch us the next time.